Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. It is my pleasure to welcome on the show Evan Spiegel, the co-founder of Snap Inc. Evan, thanks very much for joining us here in India on the Global Dialogue. It's great to have you.
It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
The India visit is via Bhutan. Any specific reason why you decided to do Bhutan before you did India? And that's a country that values happiness over everything else. Is that your state of mind today?
That was certainly one of the inspirations. Bhutan has an incredible commitment to well-being and to happiness, and changed the way that they measure that in their country to really put an emphasis on it. And that's something that really inspired me. So when they invited me to the Innovation Forum, the first Bhutan Innovation Forum, I just had to go check it out myself.
And you come back feeling like there's something that you want to reframe in your life or at work?
Well, it's just unbelievably inspiring. I mean, the kindness of the Bhutanese people was really just impressive to me. And it's a country, I was joking while I was there, they're sort of squeezed between India and China, and I feel we're squeezed between Meta and Google, so we can relate.
You can relate to what they go through. But you're talking about this competitive landscape, and it hasn't been an easy last few years for you, though things are starting to turn a corner, specifically in 2024. How confident do you feel about the road ahead? How confident do you feel about the road back to profitability for you?
Yeah, I'm so excited about the progress we've been making in our business. Here in India, we reach nearly 250 million people, and I've been so excited to see the growth of the team. Just over the last year, the team in India has doubled, and we've really focused on supporting the growth of the creator ecosystem, all of the augmented reality development that's happening here, and of course, our advertising business as well. So it's been really exciting to see the momentum here in India and around the world, where we reach more than 850 million people now.
So India is an important market, not just for you, but for Meta, for Google. I mean, this is a large market for YouTube. It's a large market for Instagram. Given the behemoths that you're up against and operating between, as you pointed out, what is the India strategy going to be? How differently do you address this market? It is, of course, a young demographic that plays to your strength and your advantage. How do you play India differently?
Well, India is full of so many young, creative people, and I think we really view our role as supporting the creativity of the Indian people. Snapchat's always played a unique role because what we found early on was that text messaging and messaging apps are kind of boring. It's hard to communicate how you feel through text. But on the other hand, social media has a lot of social pressure and social comparison with public likes and comments. And so Snapchat, I think, plays a unique role because it's visual communication and it's focused on friends and family. So there isn't that public pressure of having to look pretty and perfect on social media. And I think that's a sweet spot that's really been well received here in India, and that's why we reach so many folks here. So I think the strategy in India has really just been to support the creativity and the innovation of the Indian people, and given how many young people there are here in India, I think that's really gotten us off to a strong start.
I'll come back to India in a second, but let's talk about Snap globally as well. It's been quite a journey over the last 13 years of your existence, and there have at many points been an existential question or an existential crisis even as far as Snap is concerned, and you have made pivots along the way. As you look at the future, as you look at the next decade, for instance, what do you see yourself? I mean, what will drive Snap in the future?
I think at our core, ever since we founded the business, we've been focused on enhancing people's relationships with one another, with their friends and family, and also with the world. And at first we did that with visual messaging, but now we're very focused on augmented reality. And as we look to the future, we see augmented reality glasses being the new way that people will want to engage with computing, because it keeps people grounded in the real world so that they can actually share experiences together with their friends. I joke around with my wife and I say, imagine, we look out the window, we've got 4 boys at home, and you see the kids running around outside playing and laughing, and you're like, gosh, they just won't get off the darn computer. So there's this vision for the world where computing actually brings us together outside playing with our friends and family.
So you replace the iPads and the laptops and the computer screen with glasses, but essentially you're moving from one device to the next, right?
I think computing plays such an important role in people's lives. It's such a great tool for creativity and for connection, but I think today people often feel that screens are getting in the way. They're actually preventing them from interacting with their friends, or people are stuck behind their desktop inside rather than outside in the world. And so I think what we have to do is work towards a world where we get the benefits of computing, but we can use computers in a way that bring us together, hopefully outside in shared experiences.
I just tried on the glasses, so it was pretty cool to experience what they can do. But You know, it's not the first time that we've experimented with this kind of technology, and I would imagine that we're going to see many iterations of this. But when do you believe we're likely to see this take off from a consumer's point of view? I mean, when does it become the inflection point as far as the use and the adoption of this is concerned?
I think certainly by the end of the decade. So we're getting quite close. I mean, we've been working on glasses, I think, for about 10 years now at Snap, and there were a lot of fundamental technical hurdles that we had to overcome in terms of the display system, what we call the optical engine that connects the glasses and the glass piece of the lens with the projector system, and of course everything we've had to do to design the Snap operating system to work across 2 processors and really distribute heat and power effectively in the glasses. I think the form factor, you probably experienced this, it's still a little heavy, a little big, but I think...
And didn't fit my head quite right, which I was told was unusual because it hasn't happened anywhere else, apparently.
Well, I think those are the sorts of form factor issues that will be addressed in future iterations, and our strategy has been to just get the glasses in the hands of developers today so that they can start building for spectacles, so that when consumers adopt them, there are all sorts of amazing experiences that people, you know, can try when they use the glasses.
So it's still like a 10-year project that we're talking about.
Well, it's been 10 years already. I think.
And another 10 years before you actually start to make money off of it.
Oh, hopefully sooner than that. Hopefully sooner than that.
No, but what's the realistic timeline?
I think by 2030 we'll see widespread consumer adoption of AR glasses, and I think they're closer than folks think. I mean, oftentimes we always say in technology, you know, change happens more slowly in the short term, but then quite quickly over the long term. And so while I think the progress has been quite slow over the last 10 years, as I look at the next 10 and the future of AR glasses, I think that the changes are going to be quite rapid and consumer adoption should follow.
You know, you talked about rapid changes, and you're absolutely right. I don't think that anyone would have imagined that ChatGPT would have the kind of explosive moment that it had a couple of years ago, and today it's sort of everything that everyone talks about. When we talk about AI in specific, what kind of investments are you expected to make on that front in terms of collaborations? You've already got a collaboration with OpenAI. What more do you see on that front, given the opportunities that you foresee?
There's so much opportunity with generative AI. It's certainly something we're thinking a lot about, definitely in terms of the chatbot that we introduced together with OpenAI, but increasingly with images and videos. So if you look at the history of our augmented reality business, a lot of those AR lenses were, you know, built in Lens Studio, involved generating a lot of 3D assets by hand. And as we look towards the future, not only do I think those 3D assets, you know, will be generated by artificial intelligence, but the entire lens authoring process and ultimately the rendering of the lens will be driven by AI as well. So I think we're at a really exciting moment, not just in terms of the way AI is being applied to chat, for example, but also the camera and to video in the future.
You know, and this brings me to something that I watched just yesterday, actually. Ben Affleck talking about what AI could potentially do to the movie business. And, you know, is it going to disrupt the movie business? Is AI going to take over? And he was very clear, no, it's not going to happen, not anytime soon anyway. It certainly is going to bring down the time for people to get the product out in the market, a movie out into the market, turn around and so on and so forth. But it's not going to be able to do away with real actors, directors, and so on and so forth. What's your take on how disruptive it's likely to be for the content space, for the visual media space in the near term?
Well, AI is definitely not replacing Ben Affleck anytime soon. I think you know, as we look at the opportunity for AI and for these technical tools in general, I think what we've seen is just a huge democratization of creativity. And at Snap, we really believe that everybody is born creative, that creativity lives inside of all of us. But I think over time, whether it's through fear or because we don't necessarily have the tools to express ourselves, that creativity can be suppressed. And what we've always seen at Snapchat is when we provide creative tools to our community, whether it's simple, you know, AR lenses or now some of our more advanced AI editing tools, that sort of creativity is really unleashed. And so looking at the future of AI, I think the most exciting thing is that people everywhere will be able to truly express their creativity.
So what do you see Snap being at the core over the next decade? I mean, you know, do you morph from being a social media platform to becoming much more of a product-oriented platform? I mean, how do you see your transition and what shape it's likely to take?
Yeah, I think for us, we're evolving from being primarily a communication service to a more comprehensive computing platform. And you're already seeing some green shoots of that in the app itself, whether it's things like our map, where you can see, you know, where your friends are, what they're doing, of course, all the interesting places around you, or, you know, things like our augmented reality platform, and of course, content discovery with Spotlight. The service has diversified in so many different ways over the years, but really still driven by that core communication service. And looking looking at the future in terms of augmented reality and the Snap OS, I think we're going to bring a lot of those strengths in communication and the hundreds of millions of people that love using our service to stay close with their friends and family, and help them do that with this really powerful technology through AR glasses.
So, you talk about the fact that commerce is now social, and that is something that you're betting on as far as Snap is concerned. We're also talking about a young demographic, and that's the demographic that you play with. And Snap recently put together a report on the kind of consumption as well as the consumption behavior of Gen Z here in India in specific. How do you play to that market? How do you cater to that consumer? How do you cater to brands who are trying to target that consumer?
I think there are a couple things that have really jumped out for us as we've seen sort of the Gen Z behaviors here in India. I think the first is that it's very visual, and I think that plays to our strengths as a communications company that opens to the camera, that helps people communicate visually. We've also seen that authenticity really matters. And I think that, of course, applies to people communicating with their friends, but also the way that they're engaging with creators and brands. And what we see on Snapchat is that people want to build a deeper relationship with creators. They're not just focused on the number of followers, for example, but we have a feature called Story Replies, where people can message a creator, receive a response, and sometimes the creators even post that response to their story. And I think that helps deepen the engagement that people have and really creates loyalty around creators, which then I think plays an important role for brands who partner together with creators to help reach the Snapchat audience. And I think that relationship that people have with creators on Snapchat helps them get to know new products and services in a much more authentic way.
You said that 2024 is turning out to be a year that you feel confident about, and it could perhaps be the turnaround year. You've gone through a difficult last few years. You've restructured quite significantly. You've had a large layoff between 2021 and 2023. Is that now a thing of the past, or do you think that you will need to do more on that front? Have you been able to achieve the cost efficiencies that you were hoping to drive?
Yeah, we've really tried to strike the right balance between investing over the long term and then, of course, driving more near-term profitability, which is important, especially in this higher interest rate environment. So I think we've managed to set up the business for long-term success, of course, generate more than enough cash to cover our operation.
Yeah, the balance sheet's healthy.
Yeah, indeed. But again, we've really tried to be thoughtful, because I think as we look at these long-term investments, especially in things like augmented reality, it's the consistency that really matters. And so being able to consistently invest over 10 years instead of worrying about the ups and downs of the stock market has, I think, contributed to, to really our position here in the long term.
We're in conversation with Snapchat's co-founder, Evan Spiegel, on the road ahead for the business in India and globally. We will take a break here on the Global Dialogue and return with a lot more.